Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Robin Switzer is a ketogenic diet advocate and the creator and founder of KetoCon, one of the most highly regarded health conferences in the United States. It takes place in Austin, Texas every year and will be held this year in April of 2023. The event typically hosts thousands of vendors, brands, speakers, influencers, and participants over 3 days to engage with other health conscious people. Some of the major speakers she has hosted in the past have included several of our former podcast guests, including Dr. Shawn Baker, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Cynthia Thurlow, Ben Azadi, among others. Robin discovered low carbohydrate and ketogenic diets after many years of struggle with weight loss, prediabetes, PCOS, depression, anxiety, food addiction, and disordered eating. In 2015, Robin left her career in corporate America to join Ketovangelist LLC and took on their mission to make keto a household word. Robin became the CEO at Ketovangelist, and in 2020, eventually bought the company and rebranded to Q1 Productions, which owns several other endeavors, including KetoCon, My Ketogenic Kitchen, Ballistic Keto, Ketogenic Lifestyle Coaching, and Certified Ketogenic. Robin Switzer, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
We had to kind of catch up on where you were in life. The introduction that I had was a little bit outdated, and nobody in podcast land is going to hear the goof up that I just had in our first introduction. That's going to be deleted, and nobody gets to hear that. You are a busy person, and you have a lot going on. And so to stumble through all the different brands and everything that you've been through in the last few years was quite a bit for me and my brain and my mouth.
Yeah, there's a lot. My brain stumbles over it many times a day too. Yeah, there's a lot happening.
Well, that's encouraging.
Where would you like me to start?
Oh, well, okay. So I wanted to start here. So whenever obviously I'm doing, these podcast interviews, I want to be definitely up with whatever you're doing. And I listen to several podcast interviews that you've done in the past. I try to, be up on all your social media and the articles that you do. I really try to do my research on my people. And coming across one of the episodes that you have given in the past, I couldn't bring myself to listen to it, and I'm sure you can't bring yourself to listen to it. This was a podcast interview that you gave that was in February of 2020 that was highlighting all the amazing things that were going to happen in Austin, KetoCon 2020, an event that I had tickets to, that I was very much looking forward to, and just to consider like all the amazing things that are going to happen, and it's February of 2020.
Wow. Yeah, just hearing that date kind of makes my stomach sink. Yeah, that was a tough time. So February we were so excited. I mean, all things were leading to the biggest and most exciting event we had ever done. And then in March, we had to postpone, and we really didn't even know how long we were postponing for. Who would have imagined that it would have had to be more than a year? But we were planning 2021, but as you know, that didn't happen. So we pivoted in 2020 to an online experience, which was quite honestly one of my biggest embarrassments of my professional career, because I had no resources, no experience, no nothing to put it all together. But we did it via Zoom, and we did the best we could. And then we started trying to decide what are we going to do next? And I had just started talking to Brian about taking over Ketovangelist and rebranding. And then, of course, everything fell apart. And I went ahead with the plan to acquire all of those assets from Brian, not knowing what the future would bring. But I just was not ready to throw in the towel yet. And that's just part of my personality. I'm one of those people that just, no matter what, I continue to push through until whatever it is that I'm working towards actually happens. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I know how it feels to find this world, the ketogenic world, and become completely obsessed and not be willing to stop what we're doing. Like, we started this podcast in October of 2020. We've done over 400 episodes, and
Wow.
I have no intention of slowing down our releases of 3 days a week. It's a way that I can give back. I know your intentions are the same. And I think back on, 2020 and what a crazy year that it was. And, we certainly had a tough time. We were put on unemployment. We didn't know what we were going to do. We ended up starting our own business, which worked out okay. But there were people like good friends, dear friends of mine who were entertainers, who, like one in particular, a good friend of mine, Jason Hewlett, had this whiteboard of all of the events he had for 2020. And the whiteboard in April of 2020 is white. And he made some like kind of joking post about it and said like, I'm laughing so I'm not crying, like here's what I have this year, and it's totally gone. And you just really appreciate some of the challenges that people went through, and especially in travel and events, and thinking
Oh
about what
yeah.
you had and all the work you had put in to do this event, and then it's taken from you and there's nothing you can do. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I got to tell you that, I mean, there's a misconception in the professional world that there were resources for the entertainment industry in light of COVID. But I was unable to qualify for them because I acquired the business after the deadline, after COVID had already struck. So we were already in pandemic lockdown mode when my contract with Brian was finalized. So I was unable to get any additional resources. So, and I would never recommend this to anybody else, but I took a lot of risks because this is just something I've believed in since day one. And I had resources, financial resources from my 401k. And I cashed part of it in to keep this business going and to make sure that I could continue to do events. And there was another component to it that I've never talked about this before, but so you as a ticket holder, you know that you purchased a ticket to KetoCon 2020, and we've always had a no refund policy, but the expectation when you purchase a ticket is that you're going to go to an event, period, regardless of, if it gets postponed or whatever. So my name was all over that. But there's another piece of it. We had, close to 100 vendors, companies that had signed up to have space on the KetoCon Expo Hall floor. And that money was not paid to Q1 Productions. That money was paid to Ketovangelist. And Ketovangelist paid all of the bills for the event because we were not alleviated of the expenses related to the event. We still had to pay that even though it got canceled. So there was a lot of financial maneuvering that had to take place in order for me to make sure that KetoCon did happen again. And so in KetoCon 2022, a good number of the vendors that were there and a good number of the ticket holders that were there paid to attend KetoCon 2020. And I honored those investments, even though financially I did not receive that revenue. So I had to personally financially back the event in order to make it happen. So that was a huge risk. And I've always been one of those people that I always go with my gut. And I was fortunate enough, and I am self-aware enough to know when things happen in my favor to follow that direction. And little things did happen. The Palmer Event Center was willing to work with me on deposits where in the past they never would have. The Airbnb that I rented for our staff, they were willing to put some of those funds towards when we could get there again. It was just like little things that happened that told me I was on the right path.
Wow.
So yeah, and here we are.
Here we are. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the event. I'm super excited for it this year. I maybe would not have considered it kind of a big deal to go to a low carbohydrate conference. But that year, 2020, I purchased tickets to a few of them, and one of them was Low Carb Denver 2020, which was like March 13th through the 15th of 2020. And so right on the edge of getting shut down. The shutdown really started kind of the following Monday. And it's special. It's just different. It's different to be around the people. And if you're somebody like me, you're like a fanboy at these things. Like these are all the people that I learned from. They're the people that
Sure.
healed me and heal my clients. And like these are the gods and rock stars of like my world, and everything that I do is involved with them. And to be around them and to talk to them and to maybe more than anything, just feel their presence of like they're in this for the same reason that I'm in it, for the same reason that you're in it. They have so much passion and so much desire to share their message, and it just, I don't know, it just radiates out of them. It's really special and something different to actually be at these events and to mingle with those people.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. The majority of the people that that are in this space, in either teaching or research or coaching or podcasting environment, most of us have come to this space because our crisis kind of became our calling. And that's definitely the case with me. I mean, my health struggles brought me to this and have kept me interested in it, mainly because, first, I never want to go back to where I was, but also because as the longer I'm involved in this, the more obvious it is to me that if you cannot address your metabolic health problems, you will not address any of your other physical problems. And so I see the correlation between nutrition and fitness, nutrition and mental health, nutrition and physical health, nutrition and being able to sleep, all of these things. If you don't address the metabolic piece of it, then the other pieces, you don't heal. And I don't want that for anyone. Because I have this platform, it's, gosh, I don't mean to sound so militant about it, but it's my responsibility to make sure that I reach as many people as possible. And so I'm not a Shawn Baker, and I'm not a Ken Berry. I'm not a leader in this space. I'm not the type of personality to get up on stage and write books and that kind of thing, but I am an organizer, and I'm really good at getting people together. And so that's my role in all of this. It's my responsibility to make sure that we reach people so that we can turn this around. I have 2 sons that are probably about your age, in their 30s. And I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and my wish for all of them is good health. And I want to continue to age in a way where I can participate. I don't want to be 80 years old and crippled. I want to continue to be strong. So that's kind of my driver in all this. But I went off on a tangent there, and I apologize, but I wanted to speak to your comment about the energy at a live event. So here's what happens. It's kind of similar to going to a concert. You go to a concert and all the people that are there are so energized because they all share the same passion for whoever it is that's performing for them. You walk in, you can feel the buzz of the energy. You go to like a comedic show or anything like that. When you walk in, everyone is there for the same reason. So when you go to a live wellness event like this, yes, there are thousands of people there. However, that same level of passion, everybody that's there is there because they care about their health. People who care about their health, they vibrate at a higher energy. You'll feel it when you walk in the room. It's not only the speakers, it's not only the vendors, it's the attendees. Everybody that's there is excited and passionate about this topic. And so when the event launches on Friday morning, you start feeling it. And it does not stop until you leave and you get to the airport on Sunday afternoon. And for our team, which is a very small team, by the way, I mean, we feel it for weeks after, because all of this work leads up to this event, and we get to be on this high for 3 solid days, kind of carries us over for a few more weeks while we're still kind of crazed, and we say, okay, let's do it again. Then we schedule the next one. So yeah, it's an experience like nothing else. It really is.
That's amazing. Well, I absolutely think that makes you a leader in this space. It's just all about leading from where your strengths are. We need all of it. We need everybody. We need little podcasts like ours. We need big conferences like yours. Like, we need the books. We need the followers that Shawn Baker has. Like, all of these things are so important to get this message out there. And it's funny, I was just commenting to somebody, like, if you're in this world for a while, like, I'm scrolling through my phone, and every person I see is at like Boca, the low carb Boca that just happened in January of 2023. Like, everybody in the world is there. Like, all of my friends and all these leaders and people I follow. And then you like just go to the store and you realize, wait, not everybody is there. There are a few people out there who are interested in this. This message is getting out and it's wonderful, but we still have a long, long,
We
long way to
do.
go, and many, many, many more, of these conferences to get this message out.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you're up to your ears and totally immersed in this space, it feels like everybody that you know is part of it and understands it, but we are such a small subset. I do feel like we're starting to reach a tipping point, or we will reach a tipping point. Maybe we're not quite there yet, but I've recently heard that some pretty prominent names in this space have received research grants from the government, which is not going to be publicized, of course, but once that research is complete, I believe it will make a difference.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we started Certified Ketogenic was to give guidance and build a platform for food product manufacturers. And so that platform kind of guides the banned ingredient list for KetoCon. So we do have a banned ingredient list. What's interesting about KetoCon with, food products is that when we first launched this event, it was most of our vendors were food product manufacturers. That was when there was nothing labeled keto on the shelf. Now, keto is becoming, it's almost like a dirty word on the shelves, because the big deep pocket food product manufacturers are making products, slapping a keto label on it, and it's nothing but glorified junk food. I wouldn't give it to an animal, let alone a person. So we have turned away a lot of money on both our Certified Ketogenic platform and KetoCon, because we're just not going to let those ingredients into the show. A big piece of this is nutrition, and people need to have the resources they need to make better decisions for themselves, not to follow the marketing, because the marketing dollars are pretty hefty.
Wow. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I'm going to definitely be pacing the hallways to make sure like somebody's not black market trying to like sell some granola bars or something on the side of the conference.
That's happened before. We've had people show up at KetoCon trying to peddle products from their backpack.
Wow.
They were kicked out, but yeah. And actually, if you in our policies, it states in there that is prohibited, but people still try to do it.
I don't know why that would surprise me. That shouldn't surprise me. It kind of does, but I don't know why
Yeah.
I let it. Okay, so I want to get back to talking about the conferences and everything else. But and
Sure.
I've heard you talk about your personal story with health and how you found a ketogenic diet, but maybe not in so much detail. And so I'd really love to hear your detailed kind of journey to this diet and what things you were experiencing, what order things happened in. I know you were interested pretty much in like weight loss at a very, very young age. Can you tell us about your relationship with food in your life and how that's changed?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I was born into a food addicted family, looking back on it. So, in my family, food was used to nurture, to soothe, to celebrate. It was used for everything, and a very big part, of course, of family celebrations. And I'm Jewish, so all of our traditional holidays are tied to some sort of food, and it's usually carbohydrates. So I came by it early, and my father has always had issues with food. Diabetes runs in our family, cancer. There's just always been a weight issue in our family. And, in the 60s and early 70s, Tab was a big product. It was like a disgusting diet soda, and these little chocolate chews that you would eat to curb your appetite. And it was definitely diet culture, and nutrition really didn't play a role in what was publicized. It was definitely about losing weight, not about health. But over the years, my problems got worse and worse. It developed into prediabetes. It developed into PCOS. I had suffered with depression. I went in and out of cycles with food addiction. I would either be on a diet or binging, pretty much. And I would go from salt to sugar to salt to sugar. And the other thing, I didn't know anything about blood sugar or insulin or, regulating blood sugar. I didn't know anything about that in those years. My drive was always about the 10, 20, 30 pounds I was carrying around. But as I got older, I had kids and I started paying attention to what I was putting in their mouth. I started learning more about nutrition. And I discovered low carb, and I saw improvement in a lot of the conditions that I was suffering with, especially, female related conditions and hormonal conditions. Then the longer I stayed low carb, the better I started to feel. And then I just got more and more interested in it. I eventually found the ketogenic diet, and everything made sense to me. Switching from low carb to keto, I was kind of transitioning more to whole foods, because with low carb, I was still eating foods that were not agreeing with my system, and they were low carb. But moving to the ketogenic diet and having a higher fat content with more whole foods, things started to just fall into place. I did not try. I naturally lost weight. But even then, I didn't have a CGM. I wasn't testing my blood or ketones or anything. I couldn't correlate what was happening on the outside to what was going on the inside. However, after several years, and by kind of naturally falling into intermittent fasting and learning more about that, everything just improved. I no longer struggled with my weight. The brain fog and energy and all of those things were all taken care of. And by now I'm in my mid to late 50s, and kind of running circles around people half my age. So I would say that this transition took a really long time. And I have to say that what we started with, my inability to give up on anything, is probably what got me to where I am, because I do believe that most people, when they struggle with their health or weight for a long time, they kind of just say, okay, well, this is who I am. I'm going to accept that. And I was never willing to accept that.
Wow.
And so I finally found what works best for me. And quite honestly, I mean, I've transitioned to more of a meat-based diet now. I still eat some vegetables. I still eat the fruit that I eat is like avocados and cucumbers, which I love. And I've found what works for me without challenge. This is not an effort for me. It's just the way I live.
You've mentioned several variations of that word, that phrase, in what you just explained. I lost weight without trying. It was easy. It was effortless. That's been my experience as well. And Gary Taubes writes about this in The Case for Keto. This is why this diet is the holy grail. Any other diet is going to make you very hungry. If you reverse engineered, as he explains, if you want to become very hungry for like a big feast or something, what would you do? You would go work out and you would eat less so that you could become hungry. And that's why every diet fails. Yet people try this and it's like, I didn't try to intermittent fast. They said it was going to be really tough. And I remember trying and it sucked. And now it doesn't suck at all. I'm not even trying. I'm just not all that hungry. It's really remarkable. And to see it work on so many different levels, you just have to say, like, this is our proper diet. This is not a fad. This is not a joke. This is not something you go on for 3 months. This is what humans should be consuming.
I would agree with you. And at least for myself personally, this is the way I need to eat. And of course, I mean, there have been times in this journey where I've gone off track, and I am very quickly reminded of why I don't go off track, why I should not be going off track, why I need to stick with this. And I think that humans are kind of like, we learn from our mistakes, and we're always trying to like push the limits. It's easy to fall back into old habits. Emotional stuff can trigger us, but I always find my way back here, always.
Yep. I've never found any other diet that somebody says like, this is going to be my diet forever. I'm not looking to change. I'll never get off of this. You found it, like, you're done. It's amazing. Yeah. And it is cool to see when people drop off. Like, I had a client this week that I'm doing nutrition coaching with, and he said, a few days ago he had pizza, and he ate one piece and then scraped the toppings off the rest, and he was so sick the next day and that night and couldn't sleep. And I'm like, oh, great. That was a great learning lesson for you. There was a time in your life that you were eating so much of that when you were diabetic, which he no longer really technically is. where that wouldn't have bothered you. And now it's bothering
Right.
you. That is an amazing thing to experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think the perfect way to describe this in all areas that has impacted me is just giving me freedom.
Yep.
So this sits on my desk. Can you read this?
I can't.
It
Sorry, I
says
can't.
freedom. It says freedom, harmony, joy, and radiance. And these are the 4 words that I chose because I could never come up with just one for 2020. And this is what sits on my desk every day to remind me the freedom is the first one for a reason.
Wow.
Because that's what I found with all of this. And that's why I keep on doing what I'm doing, so that I can share that with other people, because the obsession with weight loss and food and diet, and it destroys your life. It really does. And you don't realize how much of your mental and emotional energy it sucks up when you're deep, when you're knee deep in it. You just don't. And it's not until you're on the other side of it, you say, wow, I used to spend all of my day obsessing about, what am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for dinner? I got to buy all these ingredients for next week. All of those things go away.
Yep. I really appreciate one of our recent guests, Jesselyn Randall, who went carnivore about 1.5 years ago. And she was explaining, like, people misunderstand what freedom actually means. You're going to look at this type of a diet and say, why would you restrict yourself? Like, live a little, have the pie, have the donut. Like, why are you, this is restriction in the highest sense. It's like, absolutely not. You need rules to have freedom. And there's that exchange. There's no type of sugar that's worth that food freedom that everybody describes, that I experience myself. It's incredible, and absolutely not willing to compromise on that. That freedom that you're talking about is so worth it.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
yeah. So, okay. So I think I'm guilty of this as much as anybody else, but I throw around terms like low carbohydrate and ketogenic diets as kind of the same thing, and they're really not. You mentioned it earlier as you transition from low carb to keto. Can you tell us exactly how you think of those things, and what major things you did when you changed?
Sure. Well, in the days of low carb for me, it was also low fat, and it was also processed foods. So there were just low carbohydrate processed foods. And while those are maybe they serve their purpose in like a transition phase for people going from the standard American diet to low carb, but staying low carb and low fat is really difficult, because you're white knuckling it all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like the second iteration of the Atkins diet that came around like around the year 2000,
Right.
when it surged in the 70s when it came out, and everybody did pretty well with it, and kind of like went away. It almost like disappeared, but it came back in 2000. But by then we were so fat phobic. Everybody that I remember was eating like chicken breast and lots of protein, which is great. But I remember people, even though they were losing weight, they were pissy. They were
Yeah.
not happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That I remember that sharp level of angst when you feel that level of hunger, I mean, whole fats completely eliminate that.
That's a great way to describe it, by the way. That's a great way to describe it.
It does. I mean, it doesn't, it feels sharp. It feels like edgy. It makes you feel angry.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. So anyway, and the difference between low carb and keto, I mean, I don't count macros. I just add enough fat to my food so that it tastes good, and that I'm satiated.
Yeah.
So the higher fat is important. And I mean, I find the higher fat important for me personally because of not only the satiety, but also the mental clarity.
Yeah.
So when I have adequate amounts of fat, I don't have brain fog or energy, I have energy deficiencies. And I mean, I work a lot. So this event is a lot of work, but I mean, I know that I am keeping up, if with not surpassing people that are half my age in the amount of work that I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've had exactly the same experience, the same with all of my clients. So people say, and this is true, technically this is true, that a low carbohydrate ketogenic/ketogenic diet can be done if you're vegetarian or a vegan. And I agree, it can be done. I think it's very, very difficult, but I also am willing to bet that most people who try it will eventually swing over to the other side. Similar to what you mentioned, people just kind of naturally, once they get to keto, they seem to just kind of gravitate towards carnivore diets. And I've been
Mhm.
fully carnivorous for almost 4 years now. But I'm curious to hear your experience. Why did you decide that eating more animal products was a good thing to do? And why did you decide to move in that direction?
Uh, for a couple of reasons. One, for simplicity, because I was perfectly satisfied with a steak with nothing else. I was perfectly satisfied with some seafood or fish, with some fat. I did not miss cutting out vegetables. So partially it was for simplicity and just the ease of not having to give a whole lot of thought to what I was going to eat. It was just very easy. But also because the more foods I eliminated, the more I realized how different foods were affecting me. So the bloating from vegetables became really obvious to me. Now I used to love sauteed broccoli, but it does not really agree with me that much. So I choose not to eat it. And what we talked about earlier, I mean, uh, I still eat cucumbers. I still eat avocados. So I really like those. They don't bother me. And my blood sugar just continues to stay stable. I mean, literally, when you look at the graph, because I do wear a CGM now, when you look at the graph, there's nothing. It's just completely stable. So for those reasons, I will continue to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I eat vegetables, it's different. I do see spikes in my glucose. I think that there's a school of thought out there that is saying that you need fiber to regulate your blood sugar. And I have not found that to be true for myself,
Wow.
unless there's carbohydrates involved. So if there's carbohydrates involved, I have seen that the fiber will help negate a spike. It doesn't help negate a rise. It just helps negate this, which, I mean, that spike is what causes problems. That's what we want to avoid. So for now, for me, this is working really well.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I do want to talk to you about continuous glucose monitors. Dr. Mark Cucuzella told us that you start eating this way, you get really, really boring readings on a continuous glucose monitor. Like the stupidest ride you could ever ride at the fair or whatever. Like it shows nothing. Interesting. Okay, so on the topic of vegetables, frankly, I'm actually a little bit surprised that you were seeing any real blood glucose excursion on vegetables because again you're told that that won't happen. The fiber will level things out, and
Mhm.
you don't think of vegetables as like a super high sugar, high carbohydrate type food, and it is all carbohydrate. So I'm curious to know also plant toxins. Did you feel like you had any type of plant toxin buildup that either was causing problems while you were eating vegetables, or was causing problems later when you got rid of the vegetables and you maybe had an episode of dumping? Was that a thing for you?
I have not. I have not experienced
Cool.
anything like that. However, I am still dealing with some autoimmune conditions. So I do have Hashimoto's, and I autoimmune problems run prevalent in my family. Uh, I have had several episodes of Hashimoto's becoming active again, and I do blood work because I can feel it, but I do blood work to confirm it. And I've noticed that I will see autoimmune responses when I eat a lot of vegetables or if I eat eggs. Eggs seem to
Wow.
trigger my autoimmune stuff. So I don't eat a lot of eggs, and I will continue to not eat a lot of vegetables, but like the oxalate dumping and that kind of thing, I don't think I'm well versed enough in it to really know if I've experienced dumping, but I have to believe that it's part of, it goes hand in hand with the other autoimmune stuff that, I would imagine that it makes it worse, that it probably goes hand in hand. When I have episodes, it's probably a little bit of both. But as long as I continue to improve my health and everything stays stable, I haven't dived too deep in it. But Sally Norton is going to be speaking at KetoCon this year. And
Can't
I'm
wait.
super excited to read her new book and hear her talk, because I'm sure that there will be pieces that I can put together during that conference or during that presentation that will resonate with me.
You are going to have your mind blown. She's amazing. The book is incredible. Her content is incredible. Yeah, the way she writes about it, even interviewing her twice on our show and being up on the topic and like really learning about this from a lot of people. The book is mind blowing. It's taught me so much that I kind of thought I had a good grasp on, and I certainly have not. And her work is absolutely incredible. So I'd be really curious to talk to you after the conference, after she speaks, to see what your assessment is, and maybe something turns up, or maybe you just dodged a bullet and really didn't have to deal with a lot of that. But yeah, based on your description and based on what I've seen with people, I would be highly suspect that autoimmune flare-ups and plant consumption, especially with vegetables, would be I would see a correlation there. So very interesting that you noticed that as well. You mentioned blood sugar excursions. You mentioned a continuous glucose monitor. Can you tell us what exactly that is and how you use it as a tool?
Sure. So I cheat a little bit. I am not going through one of the companies that have an app and a glucose monitor and all that stuff put together. I buy the glucose monitor directly from a diabetes website. And see, I have one right here. It's made by Abbott Labs. It's the Freestyle Libre, which is, you can buy directly on the diabetes website.
I've heard good things about that one. I've heard really good things about that one.
I like it. I mean, it comes with an app also. It's built for the followers of the American Diabetes Association. So their ranges are off. They send off alarms when your blood sugar goes below 70. Okay. I mean, I don't need to be alarmed by that. So I like to use it because it makes me feel validated. It's confirming what I actually already know. And I usually do this for about 3 months every year to kind of see where I'm at, like what's causing fluctuations and what isn't. I see a correlation between stress. So when I'm stressed, my blood sugar is a little bit higher, which forces me to spend a little bit more time in mindfulness, forces me to spend a little bit more time making sure I get outside and get exercise. And then I can see a direct correlation between, what my blood sugar is and how I'm feeling and what I'm eating. And there's a lot of empowerment there, because making that tie between how you feel and what is happening with your blood sugar, it just gives you the fuel that you need to continue doing what you're doing, even in inconvenient circumstances. So even when you're going out to dinner, even when you're at an airport, even when you're in social situations where you might have temptation to do something other than what is best for you, seeing the validation on that monitor and on the app, it just gives you more fuel to continue on your path.
Yeah. I love the word empowerment. I think that's a really great way to say it. And yes, you can stick your finger, but you're only getting a one-time kind of snapshot of what's going on at that moment. That blood sugar is a very, very dynamic number depending on how you're living and how you're eating. And so to make those correlations is really interesting. I love that you shared all those interesting things you learned from using one. And I think that's a great way to approach it too. I don't think this is something you have to do for the rest of your life, but doing it for a month or 3 months and just to get a simple idea. You could even rotate like different seasons and see how different seasons affect you. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can use that tool. And I'm not a huge promoter of a ton of devices, but that's one that I think I guess I wish more people would use and utilize and learn and change their lifestyle because of.
Yeah, I agree. And, I read something recently that there's a company that's come out with a device for measuring glucose where you only have to change it once every 6 months. So I think that they'll get a lot of buy-in if they can keep the price, at a reasonable level for the consumer. I have to say that out of all the things that I've done, out of all the tools that I've tried, everything that I've done throughout this journey, I feel that any time that I've been able to validate what I'm doing is working by either getting my blood work done or with this glucose monitor has probably been the most impactful for me.
Yeah.
It's very easy to ignore how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis, unless you're like someone like you or I who live in this space and we're constantly thinking about our health. I feel like these types of tools help you monitor your progress and just give you, like you said, empowerment to continue moving forward.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I want to go back to your personal story. We mentioned in the introduction that it was 2015 that you left a pretty cushy job to work with Brian at Ketovangelist.
Yeah.
You and I were talking a little bit offline about Brian, and I'm so grateful for him and his work while he was in it, as being one of the flag bearers, I would say, of
Mhm.
keto, and not many people were talking about it. And he was a
Right.
huge source of hosting people on his podcast that I got introduced to, and could learn their information and share their information. For you personally, what was it like to quit what you were doing before and start working with him?
Scary as hell. It was really scary. So I was working for a large global bank. I was managing salespeople around the country. I had huge numbers to hit. And I was always feeling like the axe was going to drop any day. Like in corporate America, when everybody's job security is based on a stock price, it's not a very comfortable way to live. And I got fulfillment out of the relationships that I formed with the bankers that I was managing, with the customers that I was helping. But there was always this underlying drive of mine to get out and find something that I could really invest myself in, knowing that my success would be dependent on my efforts. In corporate America, that's not necessarily the case. Your efforts don't always lead to success. So what happened was I was in the Ketovangelist Facebook group, and Brian posted something for looking for a program manager. Program manager. And I was in the Facebook group because I was doing keto, and I always liked having like other people to talk to about what they were doing. And I saw the post, and I was like, I have no idea what he's looking for, or even if I have the skill set to do something like this, but I'm going to talk to him. So Brian and I scheduled a call, and then about a week later, we got on the phone and we talked for at least an hour, and we hit it off right away. And we agreed to connect again a week or so later. And I went to my husband and I said, there's something here. I really feel like I need to do it. I've got to figure out a way, but he can't pay me. So
Kind of a minor detail.
are you nuts? You're going to quit your job and not get paid? So we agreed that I would try it for a year. And about a month after Brian and I came to an agreement, I resigned from my job and started working with him. And there was no KetoCon at the time. And we decided we were going to do a live event. I had never planned an event before. The only thing I had done in the banking industry is I had been a speaker. I had been part of teams that were like part of financial services events. So we were exhibitors or sponsors. So I backed into it from that experience. So what would the speaker expect? What would the attendee expect? And what would the sponsor expect? And we just started from there. And we did the first KetoCon in 2017, which was a big success. And we were so excited with the whole process and how well it turned out that we decided to do 2018. Then we scheduled for 2019. And that was our largest event. We had about 3,000 people there and over 100 vendors. And then February 2020 happened. So here we are again in 2023. And it looks like we have a chance of getting back to pre-pandemic attendance this year. Amazing. So as long as the tickets continue to sell at the same pace that they're selling now, we're going to have a really large event, and we're super excited about it. Even if it's not 3,000 people, the people who have purchased tickets this year have purchased tickets for this event, not for an event that happened 2 years ago or was supposed to happen 2 years ago. So, and based on who has shown interest in sponsoring the event and who has shown interest in speaking at the event, supporting us, I think this is going to be the best event we've done.
I cannot wait. So I've now attended, I don't know, 3 or 4 different conferences, enough to know that they're different. Each one has a different vibe, a different personality, a different goal. You
Sure.
see ones that are done online, and Christina Hess doing the Keto Symposium in New York City is different than us. It's different than Boca. It's different than, here in Salt Lake City, Keto Salt Lake. And so what is your goal? What like your mission of who do you want to be there? What's the vibe you want to create? Like, who is this for?
This event is for, the underlying theme of this event is always going to be learning the value of metabolic health through ketosis. So that's the underlying theme. But the event is for anybody who is interested in learning more about improving their health. And that always starts with metabolic health, but it branches out into other areas. So if you have an interest in improving your sleep, if you want to know what is all the talk about red light therapy, why is sauna so important, what is a cold plunge, we're hoping we're this close to finalizing things, but we're hoping to have a cold plunge therapy experience at the event. So if you're looking for nutrition, you're looking to understand what's all the talk about biohacking, if you're looking for fitness, if you're an endurance athlete, if you are looking to understand the carnivore diet or oxalates, any of these things that you and I talk about every day, there will be something there for you. And my mission in all of this is to reach as many people as I possibly can so that they understand the importance of not only their habits, but what they put in their mouth.
Wow.
And so I guess nutrition is probably always going to be the underlying theme, if not, the ketogenic diet. I think you can reach this. I think you can reach the benefits of ketosis without a nutritional ketosis, like a nutritional ketosis protocol or macros. But it depends on what your why is, why you're doing this, and where you are in your health journey. So if you're coming off the standard American diet and you're pre-diabetic, your strategy for health improvement is going to be different than someone like myself who's been doing this for 15 years, or someone who is looking to address cancer or Alzheimer's or, serious disease. So I don't know, maybe this is too big of a dream, but I really want this event to have something for everyone. And with the underlying theme being nutrition, I feel like it's possible.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what my expectation of these conferences was going in. I think I expected everybody to be similar to my experience. Like, they've been in the low carbohydrate ketogenic space for several years. They are training people. They do nutrition coaching. Maybe they're dietitians. They're doctors, certainly. And I remember one moment at Low Carb Denver when on one side of me is somebody who I think he was an orthopedic surgeon who is actually retired, but just learned about this stuff like 6 months ago. And he's just like curious. He's like on fire about this stuff. And on the other side of me was a veterinarian. And it's like, okay, this is interesting. This is a really diverse crowd. And I've been to these shows where there are some very big people. There's some unhealthy people there.
Yeah.
And you get a sense of like, wow, this is not just for, people that have done this for a long time. This is not just for the experts and leaders and people that are going to be speaking on stage. This is for the masses. This is for my neighbors and everybody. Everybody can go to this and not feel like they're intimidated by all these big names and big people who've been doing this for a while. They're people that genuinely have questions. Maybe they just learned about this from a magazine cover or something, and they're curious. And so I guess that really surprised me. So I love that that's part of your mission, to be so inclusive of so many different people.
I mean, honestly, I don't see any other way to reach that tipping point unless we do that. I think that if we only focus on the ketogenic diet, then we're only going to bring people in who want to learn about the ketogenic diet. But if we focus on all of these other elements of pillars, if you will, of health, then we will bring people in that are interested in those topics and that's the only way to reach the masses. For every person that comes to KetoCon, I know that I will reach at least double that number. Those people that attend will all go home and touch at least one more person. So if I keep doing that every year and the reach keeps expanding, then I'm contributing to the tipping point.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I'm just imagining that cross-pollination between the people that love cold plunges and the people that love low carbohydrate, and they're getting all of that education. It's really interesting. Again, if you've been in this world for a long time, it gets like really homogenized. We have a sauna, like everybody wears barefoot shoes. Like it's just so amazing how we keep learning and growing in this world, and that cross-pollination is so important. So I love that.
Mhm.
Tell us again, what is the kind of schedule of events? What's the format? What can people expect if they're going to the event?
So it's a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will open each day with a panel at 9 o'clock in the morning. The vendor hall will open, the registration and check-in will open at 8:30. So we'll have about an hour of vendor floor activities until the first panel. And then we run 3 stages, actually 4 stages at KetoCon. So there's a keynote stage on the first floor of the venue that seats about 1,000 people. And then we have 3 breakout rooms upstairs. So the larger breakout rooms each hold 150 people. And there's a VIP breakout room for VIP ticket holders to have more intimate conversations with the speakers. And then all 3 days, every 40 minutes, there's a new speaker on each stage. So there'll be, when I counted yesterday, we've got a total of 70, but some of them are only speaking on panels, and there's like 6 or 7 people on a panel. There will be a panel this year for strictly addressing the carnivore diet. There will be a panel of talking about regenerative agriculture and food sourcing. So that's another piece of this conversation that I'd like to bring into the mix, because there's a lot of opposing dollars being thrown at the anti-meat campaigns. And I think people don't understand. I don't think they understand the argument. I don't think they understand the facts, because they're not being fed the facts. They're being fed, they're being fed the climate change issues. They're being fed the methane gas stuff.
Cowspiracy. It's cowspiracy stuff.
Right. I'd like to start helping people learn the truth about all this. So we have a panel discussion planned where, are you familiar with the Meat Mafia podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the episode that they hosted you on, actually.
Oh, thank you. They're really great guys. And God, they're both younger than my youngest son.
Yeah, are they in their 20s?
They're in their late 20s, both of them.
So jealous.
But they are
jealous.
Yeah, they are making waves. Like I'm so impressed by the work they're doing. They are going to be leading that panel, moderating that panel. And we have 3 local farmers and a food product, the Carnivore Bar. Philip Meese will be on that panel. And they're going to be talking about regenerative agriculture, the real life experience of owning a farm, the real life experience of agriculture and food sourcing. So I'm really hoping that everyone attends this, because if people have facts, they'll be able to make better decisions. That's something new about this event. So in answer to your question, we will run from 8:30 in the morning until 6 on Friday, 8:30 in the morning until 6 on Saturday, and then 8:30 in the morning till 4 on Sunday. And there will be speakers on all of those stages at any given time. If people have not purchased a ticket yet, I recommend that they purchase the virtual replay pass, which is a $50 add-on, because then you'll be able to watch all of the recorded presentations after the show. There's no way you're going to see everything.
That was going to be one of my questions. It sounds like everybody can kind of pick and choose different things to participate in, but it won't be everybody consuming everything through that time.
Yeah, there's just no way. There's no way you'll be able to do it. You'll definitely want to spend time in the expo hall, because that's where all of the tools and technology learning takes place. You're definitely going to want to do that. And then of course there's coffee vendors, and Holy Cow Beef is going to be there, and they're going to be serving lamb sliders, and there's all kinds of stuff to be doing in the expo hall at the same time. So it'll be going on all 3 days like that. We're also doing this year, which we've done in the past, an entrepreneur mastermind session. So that takes place early on Saturday morning. And we'll have a panel of about 7 people. And these are either product owners or service owners. Their purpose in all of this is to share a bit about their business, why they started it, what they're doing, what their growth plans are, and then let the people in the audience who are attending this ask their questions, because I'm finding that a lot of people that come to this event are either just starting out as entrepreneurs or they are thinking about it. And there's a lot of room for growth in this space for entrepreneurs. And I think that, lockdown encouraged a lot of that as well. People decided to start their own thing. So this gives them an opportunity to ask experienced business owners their most pressing questions. Hopefully it provides a lot of value to them.
Wow. No, that's us. I mean, we started our business in July of 2020. Like we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And, we just wanted to try to find a way to continue training our people. And
Right.
it's going to be so interesting. I will definitely be there for that. I have found, with very few exceptions, that entrepreneurs are some of the kindest and most generous people that I have ever met. To combine that with being on low carbohydrate diets and carnivore diets, they're going to be even better. Like that's a mishmash of two of the greatest, most supportive groups that I personally have ever found. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm so glad that you decided to include that, because I think you're right. I think there is a groundswell that's coming. I think there's a tipping point that's coming, and there's going to be a really high value placed on people that know how to give people answers and products and services that can help them restore their health. So I
Mhm.
love that you have included that. I'm also hoping that you have hooked up with I believe it's Aaron Franklin from Franklin's, who does the 1,000 pounds of brisket every single day at his joint in Austin. I use his recipe when I make my brisket every single week. I hope he's going to be there. Who wants
I'm
brisket?
not familiar. I'm not familiar with that name. You'll have to email it to me. I'll
I
connect
will
with
for
them.
sure. I will for sure. It's an amazing recipe, and I make it every week. And like I said, I'm really anxious to go check out Austin and check out his facility. I guess one more thing I want to bring up. What does it mean to you? Like when I'm scrolling through your social media, I'm seeing your kids that you mentioned. I'm seeing you play with your grandkid, and you mentioned it earlier. And it's just you don't get to see that very much from a lot of people. And so again, for you, what does it mean to be able to know that you're going to be healthy and happy and be able to enjoy a long and healthy life and get to see your granddaughter grow up? It's really pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I intentionally set up my personal social media separate from the KetoCon social media, because I'm a pretty private person. So, I've just only recently started showing my face on the KetoCon social media channels, because we've been doing like lives and stuff like that. But my personal social media, when I am there, I'm posting some stuff that's important to me. And what you've been seeing recently is my granddaughter. So I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter who is kind of like my mini me. And we have the same smirk. We have the same disposition. But I just, like probably every other grandmother in the world, I idolize this child. And I want to be there when she graduates from high school. I want to be there when she needs me. I want to be part of her life. And I mean, there's a whole nother discussion related to like making up for the mistakes you made with your children by doing the right thing with your grandchildren. We could have that discussion another time. But yeah, it's everything to me. It's my number one priority. It's everything.
That's amazing.
So being immersed in this space keeps me educated and keeps me moving in the right direction and taking care of myself, because I see what happens to people that don't. And I don't want to be there. I have my father, who is 83, is in a nursing home. He does have MS, but he was not taking care of himself when he was diagnosed. And diet nutrition was not part of his protocol. So I'm watching him die, and he can't move. He has no muscle on his body. He can't even get himself out of bed.
Yeah.
So I do not want to go there.
Wow.
That's not how I want to go.
Yeah.
So I am taking care of myself to make sure that doesn't happen to me.
I love that. And I look at it both ways. Like, not only are you going to be healthy and happy living this way, but you can also influence her little life and know that, with your education, she might not have to go through all the rigmarole that you
Right.
had to go through. She can live healthy. She can be, you know, well behaved, and she can pay attention and learn and be interested and curious about things without being medicated at such a young age, which I'm seeing more and more of. So absolutely love that. On the parent and child thing, I remember the saying, every parent wants a thank you, every child wants an apology, and nobody gets what they want. Pretty fair. Pretty fair. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, Robin. Where would you like people to go to find you and connect with you, and also find KetoCon and get tickets?
So they can go to ketocon.org for all the information about the event. And there is a get tickets button on the homepage of that website. And tickets are, the 3-day ticket is currently $200. And if they use your discount code, which is Boundless, they will save $50. So they'll get the entire 3-day pass for $150.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Of course. The ticket prices are increasing on February 1st and March 1st. So that same ticket will be $250 on February 1st and $300 on March 1st, and they'll be $300 at the door. So I would encourage people to get their tickets soon so that they can save money. But your code will work regardless of when they purchase the ticket until April 1st.
Wow.
If they want to follow KetoCon, we have a Facebook page on Facebook, KetoCon ATX. And we have our Instagram is KetoCon, where we're most active there. I am not really active, but on Instagram, I'm the Robin Switzer. And really, unless you want to see pictures of my granddaughter, I'm not very interesting.
Well, she is adorable. You are adorable interacting with her. We'll link to all of that in the show notes. This episode is going to drop in the early part of February. But that is still an amazing deal. Like, I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, you're obviously interested in this information. You will not miss the money that you spend, not only to attend the conference, but to get there, to fly there, for lodging and accommodation. You will not miss the money. You will create experiences and memories that you will cherish for the rest of your life. You'll make connections that you never thought possible before. You'll get great education. You'll hook up with all kinds of cool vendors and meet people who you might look up to, and they will have conversations with you. You might talk about nutrition, or you might talk about their favorite sports team. You just get to know people and make these amazing friends. You won't miss the money. Invest in this, invest in yourself. It's just so absolutely worth it. And I'm so much looking forward to it.
Well, I'm really excited to see you there. I saw that you bought your ticket really early this year.
Absolutely. I wasn't going to wait.
I'm really excited to see you. And I appreciate you having me on to have the conversation. And if anybody has any questions, if they have questions about the event, they can email help@ketocon.org and we will answer you within a few hours.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I know it's probably you doing all the work and answering a lot of those yourself personally with your team. And so again, Robin Switzer, thank you so very much for everything that you do. Thank you for putting on this event. I will see you live here in a few months. I cannot wait. And thank you so very much for sticking with it through very difficult times and continuing to push this message forward. I think that tipping point is coming, and you're a big part of that. You are a leader in this space. We're so grateful for you and for the time you made to be on our show today. We really appreciate you.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Absolutely. And this has been another episode of Balanced Body Radio.